joined by my co-host, Bob Paden from bobpaden.com, and our guest, John Merrill from Merrill Property Group, a division of KW Commercial. Welcome to the show, John.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
thanks for coming.
So tell us about you. How'd you get into commercial realty?
Oh my, that's a long-winded question. You sure you want to go there? I started my career in public accounting. I did that for 3.5 years and decided I didn't really enjoy it, but I was good at numbers, and I went into that partly to figure out where I wanted to go. I decided I like tangible things, and I like to do things that are not repetitive. So real estate scratches both of those itches, and I first worked for a small residential developer. He was bankrupt and didn't know it, and at the age of 25, I got to tell him that. Then I went to a company called Duke Realty Investments, and that's where my real estate career was launched.
Okay. And you also worked for CBRE?
Yeah,
right?
So I was at Duke Realty for 8.5, 9 years, including when we went public. And I joke about it with those that know the company. It was a great company.
Oh, yeah.
But that's like dog years. And then I went to CBRE, which was at the time CB Commercial. I became an investment sale broker. I had no sale experience, but I knew numbers. And I did that for 15 years. My team was pretty dominant. We were very successful. And we sold probably 80% of the office buildings that sold during that time period. And then I had a personal health issue in my family. I lost my wife, and I'm very open about that. And I needed to do something different, and they needed new leadership at CBRE. So I ran the office for 5 years.
Oh, nice.
I did not have a vision for the next 5 years, so I fired myself. I went to another company that is called HFF. At CBRE, you're a player or you're a coach. And HFF, you could be a player and a coach. So I co-ran the HFF office here, National Debt Intermediary and Investment Sales, which is what I did. And then I left there in December of 2018, and they merged with Jones Lang LaSalle shortly after that. So I never worked at JLL, but I know a lot of people there.
Right. Yeah. Same here. Yeah. It's a good company. So tell us about, the real estate market in general. What's going on in the space right now?
Yeah. So, and then I went out on my own, January 2020. So now I'm a small business owner, which is a very different than working for those large firms. So in the market, Bob and I were talking briefly before. I would say there's probably 3 major trends that I would talk about. One, there's a national housing shortage, and that continues to be the case. So all the home builders are trying to get as much land, as much built as quickly as they can. Same on the multifamily side, although we've got a little bit, we've run into a bit of a bump with interest rates going up, because normally those developers would build, stabilize, and sell, and they're not able to sell at the prices they underwrote. So we've had a little backlog right now, although it's overall a very healthy market. So that's one of the key trends. On the industrial side, and I'm the national industrial leader for Keller Williams Commercial. It's both locally and nationally. We got overbuilt in the really large box space. In 2021 and 2022, we built twice the historical average of space, both here and nationally. And in 2021, there was more space taken than was built, and it was pretty close in 2022. However, in 2023, as things have started to stabilize, we're a bit overbuilt in that space. However, on the smaller tenant side, there's a shortage of space.
Correct.
So smaller industrial is hard to find right now for our clients that need it. And I would say the other thing that's a trend. You got to help me out, Bob. What was the other one I said?
Oh, man.
What about just traditional office space?
Yeah, office was the other one. Yeah. So traditional office space. Yeah. Thank you for the save. So everybody, paints a product type. First of all, real estate with a broad brush, and then office with the broad brush, et cetera, et cetera. Well, office is very similar. Historically, we had a drive to people wanting to be downtown. We have a great downtown here. I work regionally. All of the other cities have tried to emulate what's happened here. I'm talking about Louisville, Cincinnati, Columbus, Cleveland. we had a real drive to people wanting to be downtown. That was already starting to reverse, but with COVID and the violence that happened downtown, I have four millennials and one Gen Zer, but she thinks she's a millennial. And they all called me and said, "Dad, have you ever seen this before?" And I said, "No, very isolated, but not here."
Right.
And so the rose is off of the bloom is off of downtown right now. Hopefully we recover from that. But also people don't want to go into buildings that have common areas. And the shift has happened in the employer-employee power dynamic.
Yes, for sure.
And so smaller, closer to home office spaces are still doing very well. That's what I tend to own, and those are doing very well. However, the larger towers and CBD Central are struggling. The other thing that's happening in the office market, I just came from a tenant build-out meeting. We did, even though we're a small company, we did what would have been the largest office deal in Indianapolis last year, but we signed it on January the 3rd of 2024. So we got to wait and see if there's a big one here.
Right.
But anyway, it's at the Stutz building. I'll give them a little call out. And that's a well-amenitized building.
It is.
That has all of the locational things, et cetera, that tenants are looking for. So even large tenants now, in order to attract employees, will go to gravitate to those spaces. So those spaces that are struggling are those that are either not as walkable or they haven't been renovated as nice. The walkable is the hard thing to change if you don't already have it. So
right.
Got it.
So in your business, you've got two parts of the equation: one, acquiring listings, and the other, right, getting buyer representation. So how does that work for you?
Well, yeah, we do primarily three things. We do a lot of, I got into doing a lot of land sales because I happened into it. A friend asked me to list a parcel and it was in my backyard. And I said, I don't do land. But then I started asking them questions about, and I won't name the firm, but a big firm had it before. And have they been calling this group and this group and that group? And he said, no. And anyway, can we hire you? And I'm like, I don't do land. About 3 months later, I called back and said, I'm thinking about this. If not me, who? And I took over that listing 3 years ago, and they said, why didn't we hire you 5 years ago? It's been great. So we do a lot of development land. So we're selling to industrial developers, apartment developers, retail. There's still retail, outlot activity, a little bit of shopping center activity. Rents have gone up, costs have gone up across the board. So rents have had to go up across the board. So we do that. We do tenant representation like we did for Calumet Specialty Services, where we took them in the market, help them tour the market, negotiate their lease, et cetera. And then we do owner occupants. We represent both buyers and sellers. And we also do investment sales. That's been my fastball in a career, which is selling and leased up properties as investments.
Right.
So there's a lot of things we do. Been in the business long enough. I feel like we can do all those things exceptionally well. I don't try to add a new opportunity or business line until we're great at the one we're doing. But I feel like we're there.
So that's awesome.
Let's talk about land a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that's number 4. We had the 3.
Mm-hmm.
How would you paint the land situation? Because I'm a Boone County guy, so I see what's happening around me. Leap District, et cetera. But, kind of how would you picture the land situation?
Well, yeah. So first of all, on the industrial side, there has not been a large land site close since January 2023, the best of what I've been able to find. And I've talked to a few other land brokers about that. So until we get through that backlog of product, which never takes as long as it seems like it's going to, and the market's starting to pick up already. So on the industrial side, it's slow. We are putting a fair amount of retail land under contract right now for new development. The apartment builders still want land, but financing is a little bit tough to get right now. The single family home builders can't get enough. So we're trying to help them. And we do a little bit of senior housing, and we list the land and then go find the highest and best use for it. And then, find who those groups are.
Right. Awesome. So what's on the horizon for you this year? What are some of the opportunities you're looking forward to?
Well, first of all, we were really proud of the job we did for Calumet, and we'd like to do more of that.
Mm-hmm.
And
how'd they find you?
Yeah, that's a good question. So a residential real estate agent who's a long-term friend of mine, who is not with Keller Williams, by the way, he called me, and his operations person is the daughter-in-law of the executive secretary.
Oh, I love stories like this.
This is true. This is exactly what happened. And so they called him. He came in and he's like, this isn't what I do, but John's your guy. So I went in and I pitched it against one other small firm and two of the largest firms, one of which I might have used to work at. And and they wanted a customized, they didn't want to work with a big firm. Because I'd sold so many of the properties, I know who owns them, who operates them, what their strategies are. And so I don't know, we clicked, we got the assignment. That's how we got it at the end of the day. And then, so in terms of we're now working on probably the largest industrial requirement in the country. That's a little harder to prove out, but we're working on an 8-location, about 500,000 feet per location deal all around the country right now. That came to me because one of our colleagues near Washington, D.C., it's for a government contractor, got invited to propose on it, said, this is bigger than I really can handle. Who should we have help us? And they came to us, and we got to do it all last fall. We did an exceptional job. They got the contract because of it, and somebody sued, and we get to do it all again. But but it's going really well. So that's a huge opportunity for us.
That's awesome.
We've got a lot of other things on the horizon too. So I tend to have a little bit of ADD maybe, but people come with opportunities, and I'll give you an example.
Sure.
So one of the things I love about Keller Williams that's different than the big firms, which are all great, and I have friends there in national leadership positions, international leadership positions locally. They're great organizations. But one of the things that I really like, when I was running the CB office, we struggled with diversity. We wanted to do it, but a lot of us pre-programmed into the women that they should go in sales roles. They wanted to take a more comfortable route. And then when it comes to minorities, they didn't tend to have people that they knew in the business. My daughter and my son work with me, right? They didn't have those examples. Keller Williams Commercial and Keller Williams in general, it's a very diverse, super diverse, and I love that. And it's not only diverse in age, ethnicity, but also work experience. So one of the gentlemen I formed a partnership with, and we're working on a national team to address the logistics space and the middle market logistics space. Well, he was with DHL and ran their international logistics operation, retired, decided he didn't really like to be retired, got into real estate, and decided, hey, I think there's a void there with these middle market firms. Sure. So we're working on that, and we're hoping to launch in July. So that's an example. Things come, you just got to pay attention, see where the other party can add value, where you can add value, figure out the gaps, and go. So
right,
absolutely.
Well, that makes for an exciting year.
Yeah,
lots of opportunity.
Yes, there's a lot going on.
And I'm glad you talked about the connection of, through your daughter. And I mean, all those. I mean, some people don't pick those signals up.
Oh yeah,
right. They'll just
Well, truthfully, my daughter, I didn't think any of my kids would want to come into the business. I have 4 daughters and a son.
Wow.
And the 2 younger were bonus when I got remarried, but their dad's deceased also. I'm their earthly father now, and we're very, very close. But anyway, it's my second oldest daughter. My oldest daughter lives in LA. My second oldest daughter, she was underemployed. I looked at her, I'm like, you're so much more talented. And they kept giving her where she was so much more responsibility, but no more pay. So when COVID hit, I'm like, why don't you join us? Right. And she said, well, worst case is you'll drive me crazy, and but I'll learn something. And she saw herself as an operations and marketing person. She has really, strengths in that area. And I'm like, you got the personality to be a really good broker. And she didn't see it, but now she does. And now she's like, commercial real estate's my jam.
Right.
And then we've grown to the point, my son is the natural salesman. He can relate to anyone. He joined us about a month ago. We got to the point where we have 3 other people aren't related to us, and we're going to be growing the business. We have some other people are going to be joining us. It's not just a family business. I tell my kids the bar is higher, not lower. And
good for you.
And they embrace that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So let's talk about you, the person.
Okay.
Yeah. What drives you as a human being? If people were describing you, your closest friends, what are a couple of things that they would?
Well, they would probably jab me with a few, things like my eyes are brown because I'm full of, things of that nature. I'm very relationship driven. My wife and I are so good together because whatever I need, she puts before her own needs, and I do the same. And when you do that in a relationship,
sure,
that's what makes it work long term. I had a client that had a need yesterday, and I had a relationship that I told him I could help him with. And this was probably going to cost him $50,000 in impact fees, right? And he called me and he's like, my buddy's going to do the construction, but he's conflicted because he's got a government role. And I don't think he's going to do what you told me where he would get out of this. And so I did that. I called a council member and I said, okay, we talked about this not being subject to an impact fee. And he got back to me. So I had a cocktail with that client about another matter. And he said, you know what? You just did that for me and you didn't make a nickel. And I said, no, I didn't. But how many times have you recommended me to other clients and I don't pay you for that?
Right.
So very relationship driven. Probably not as money driven as I should be. Most of my friends and clients are rich, and I'm doing okay. But I'm very relationship driven.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What do you like to do for fun?
So my wife told me a few years ago, you need a hobby. I've tried to play golf. I'm a terrible golfer. I like to play, but I'm terrible, right? And she said, you need a hobby. And I had met an ex-IU football player who was pro for a while, and he runs a bunch of McDonald's. He's doing really well now. And he collected cars he couldn't afford when he was a teenager. Well, I'm like, I can't afford that, but I love music.
Okay.
And so I bought my first hi-fi, really nice stereo equipment when I was 15 years old. And so I have started buying vintage stereo equipment, most of which you can't buy anymore, and that people still collect. It's really high quality, et cetera. Now it backfired on my wife because I have about 8 systems and I only have places to play 3 of them. And she told me the other day, there's 21 pieces of equipment in the garage that aren't being utilized. And I said, well, compared to all of my other people I know that collect, that's small.
Right.
She's not buying it.
She's like, a problem's a problem, Joe.
Yeah, we also like to travel. As I mentioned, my wife has a Class A motorhome. It's a little bit older. Yeah. It's pretty nice. And people say, does she ever drive? And I said, 80% of the time it's hers, and she lets me ride in it. And
where do you like going?
We go to Nashville a lot. We've gone out to Denver to go to Red Rock. Oh, yeah. She keeps thinking I can take 2 or 3 weeks off, and I'm like, I can't really do that. But we go up to Michigan. We just do, kind of depends on gas prices and how busy we are.
Sure.
But yeah, we'd like to. It's fun. It's a different way of traveling.
So who are some of your musical favorites?
Well, I'm a big Leonard Skinner fan. I got to see Artemis Pyle. I could go down the rabbit hole on that one, but I got to see him. He was the drummer he wasn't the original drummer, but he was the drummer when they had the plane crash and they were at their peak. And so I got to meet him and actually talk to him. He played down in Nashville in Indiana here. So they're probably up there. I love Tom Petty, John Fogerty. A friend of mine knows John Fogerty. John married a Hoosier some 35, 40 years ago. So I'm a classic rock guy.
Okay. Yeah.
Mr. Drummer over here.
Yeah.
I play in a cover band around town.
Who do you cover?
All kinds of things,
Uh-huh.
country to modern to, Chris Stapleton, Shania Twain, to the Foo Fighters, to Evanescence, to
all good. I didn't mention any of those, but I like them all.
we do Leonard Skinner, ZZ Top.
Well, you need to invite me. I'll come.
Yeah.
That's been my thing. Lately, we've been going to these more cover bands and in small venues, and you can get in the second or third row. It costs you a fraction of and it's the same entertainment value for me.
Correct.
Yeah, I'll be happy to send you the schedule.
I love that.
If you guys are in town, come check it out.
Okay, we'll do that. We also like to travel internationally. We don't do as much of that. We are going in a couple of weeks to Ireland for a week with some friends. So
that's cool.
Country.
Yeah.
What's the attraction to Ireland? To sightsee or to?
So I lost my first wife to leukemia, and I did a lot of fundraising for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, including I ran a marathon. That's a stretch term. I finished a marathon
It's all right.
in Dublin, Ireland, and my wife walked about half a marathon, and then we stayed for several days, but we were both too sore to really enjoy it. So we've always wanted to go through. My grandmother on my father's side is Irish, so I got some Irish heritage. But and then a friend of mine was first generation American. He's got a homestead in Ireland, and he said, "Hey, I'm organizing this trip. Would you like to come?" So we're going on a bus trip with about 20 people, 10 other couples. So it's a combination, right? Friendship, heritage, and
that's
adventure.
really cool.
Yeah.
Make sure you visit the Guinness Brewery. And then there's the oldest pub in Ireland across the street.
Yeah.
I was there once. I won't say how it ended, but it was actually really good. I tell people it was like drinking chocolate milk.
Oh, I love Guinness.
Oh my goodness. It's so different than here.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
I think
even
there's
if
a
it's
direct tap here.
Oh.
I think it's a direct tap across the street type thing.
Wow.
Have you ever heard the real estate story behind Guinness?
No.
Oh, brilliant.
This is a great topic.
Yeah, it is.
Really? Yeah.
So I won't do it complete justice, but I remember the gist of things, and then the rest you got to go Google. That's what Google's for. But so Guinness was a failed brewery, something. I don't know. It was more than 1,000. I mean, they signed a 1,000-year lease.
Oh my gosh.
For $1.
Okay.
So they control all that real estate, and they've had huge success. They pay $1 a rent a year for 1,000 years. I don't know what year they signed it, but they got some. They got some time. They got some term left.
Wow.
Haven't heard that one.
That's one of the most brilliant real estate moves ever.
Right? Unbelievable. That's really cool.
Yeah.
But good for them as well.
Yeah.
So are you a morning person or a night owl? What's kind of your routine daily?
Well, my wife would tell you I'm a morning person because she doesn't want to hear me talk. I wake up with energy. I don't wake up super early, but I wake up with more energy than she does. But I also can go late when it's, I can do either.
Yeah.
But I guess I would be a little bit more of a morning person in terms of working out and other things. If I don't do it in the morning, it's not getting done.
Right.
Yeah.
And then as far as your drink of choice, is it bourbon? Is it scotch? Is it vodka? Water?
Yeah.
Coffee?
I like old fashions. I probably I like beer. I'm not a scotch drinker. I like pretty much everything else you mentioned.
Right.
But I went on a diet recently, and so I'm only drinking bourbon or nothing. And I've lost 40 pounds. I got more to go, but anyway, so I had a couple of bourbons last night. It's fun. I sold a building in downtown Louisville, and if you read the marketing materials, it was way more about bourbon and the impact on the economy than it was about that particular building.
Yeah, absolutely. The heritage and the history and the legacy of bourbon in Kentucky is huge.
It is, and my wife will kill me for this, but she won't hear it. Let's make sure she doesn't hear this. No, it's good. But she took me as a gift on a bourbon tour, and she doesn't like it. So I drank her share too. Probably that wasn't good. But so somebody asked the tour guide who invented bourbon, and he said he gave 3 theories. One of which is Daniel Boone's brother Squire Boone.
Okay.
My wife's maiden name is Boone. She is a direct descendant of Daniel, but of Squire Boone.
Interesting.
Really?
Yeah. And
Well, it must be true then. Right?
I verified it. Yeah, I verified that. So, so anyway, the history of bourbon is interesting. I probably have a dozen bottles, which seems like a lot, but I got friends that have hundreds.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah. Cool.
That's awesome.
Anything else you want to share with us?
I would say one thing. I love people, and I love young people. I love old people. I love everybody in between. And this isn't political, but I just hope we can all start seeing the similarities, not the differences. That's what I like to do.
Nice.
I like to invest in the young people. That's why I really, quite frankly, if we're growing our company, I'm probably, I don't know if I'll ever retire, but I'm, in my early 60s. A lot of my friends are retiring, et cetera, but I like to invest in the young people, and I'm going to hand on the experience and the knowledge that I've gotten. And so I guess I'd just like to encourage everybody, just look for the similarities. I'm not running for Miss America here. I'm asking for world peace, but they're just, our world's broken right now, and people do need to change their mindset. It's just gotten way too divisive.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Sure. No, that's good.
So how do people find you? On LinkedIn, is that an easy place to find you?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. We have our website, merrillpropertygroup.com. Most
and
people,
it's 2 R's and 2 L's.
2 R's, 2 L's, just like Merrill Lynch, but I don't get any royalties from that. But yeah, 2 R's and 2 L's, and we got signs up on land, and there's plenty of ways to find us. But we get most of our business from referrals from about 25% from other residential real estate agents, Keller Williams or not, and the rest mostly from clients. So I'm trying to get into proactive marketing and business development mode, but we have more business than we can handle right now. I'd like to think from doing a really great job for people. So
exactly.
Awesome.
Well, It's been nice getting to know you. Thanks for coming on.
Well, it's my pleasure. I really appreciate you having me. And again, I'm not running for Miss America, but let's look for that world peace.
That's all right.
We agree. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.